Hello once again. We're at the Hopewell Forge Mansion, Pennsylvania historical marker, built in 1740 by Peter Grubb, a pioneer iron master at nearby Cornwall Furnace, and named for the upper and lower Hopewell forges located on Hammer Creek near the house. Remnants of the forge dams may still be seen in the creek. So we're actually near Brickerville. I'm not sure if this is actually the house or not. I mean, I would assume it probably is, but they have a thing there that says Hopewell Forge Property, so I would assume that that's what it is. I'll get more information on it and then do an audio with the pictures. I don't want to get hit here. We're actually right near Brickerville, so with that, I'm going to stop here and then we'll go on to the next part of the video. Thanks, everybody. Alright, so there isn't a ton of stuff on this place, the Hopewell Forge Mansion. The mansion itself was built like when it says on the sign there, and that would in essence be the Iron Master's mansion. There are probably a lot of other buildings as well for, for like the Forge Master. That usually had one for a foreman, for an engineer, those types of things on these types of properties. So Peter Grubb, who was the founder of the Grubb family iron dynasty, he started Cornwall Iron Furnace in 1742. Sometime shortly after, he built Hopewell forges. There was two of them, an upper and a lower forge on the Hammer Creek shortly after there to complement the iron furnace business. And there is a difference between the iron furnaces were what created the iron, like the pig iron, which was sort of useless until the forges would then make it into usable iron. And that's what the purpose. These were two forges that were built to complement the iron furnace works in Cornwall. In 1765, his sons Curtis and Peter Jr. took over the business. Peter Jr. lived in this Hopewell mansion to run the Hopewell forges, and Curtis ran the Cornwall Iron Furnace Works. And around 1783, Robert Coleman started to buy out the Grubb family of all their different properties. It sounds like from what I researched, in 1802 is when Hopewell was acquired. It most likely closed around 1854 because Coleman ran a Speedwell forge, which was also on the Hammer Creek, and that closed right around 1854. So it was probably sometime prior to that. Just an example of what it actually produced, about 1833, it produced 250 tons of iron. So this was quite a proficient place, and it really probably challenged even like Union Forge in Lickdale, Pennsylvania, for the amount of iron produced. So with that, we'll be done, and we will see you about town. Thanks, everybody. I wanted to add something. To this video. Something I didn't talk about. They do say on the sign that the house was made in 1740. So you never know. It might have been a little earlier, but from what the research I've been trying to find, because there is not a whole lot on Hopewell forges. On the two of them, there's pretty much, from what I can gather, there's nothing left except for the mansion is literally the only piece of the original property that still exists. All those other buildings that probably existed, like they normally had, like you had your iron master, who was sort of the person that was in charge of the whole operation, and then you had like a forge master who ran the forge. You'd have like the engineer house. We saw some of that over at Swatera Iron Furnace. They had like the engineer's home and the foreman's home as well. These were all essential buildings on that property, and pretty much none of that exists as far as I'm aware. It's all gone. They would usually have like a store for, it was a decent sized operation, which apparently this was, because we'll be visiting Manada Iron Furnace, which was quite a bit later when that was built. I think it was 1836. It was like a whole, like the communities usually in that general region surrounded around, like if you had a mill or something like this of this nature, an iron furnace, the whole community, that's where people worked.
Unfortunately, with a lot of these places, like you see at Cornwall Iron Furnace, there's a lot there yet, thankfully, that was preserved, but a lot of what had been there is gone. The mansions and different buildings and that type of stuff is gone, because it was a much larger operation than what's actually there yet at Cornwall. So a lot of that stuff, it was just sort of their thing. Once they were done with that facility, bam, it got torn down. So unfortunately, it sounds like besides the mansion, the only thing that's left on that property where these forges used to be were the dams that they used to operate. It would probably be the same way with Speedwell. But I just wanted to add that in and talk a little bit more about that, because that was something I forgot. And with these pictures, since I only had 2, there's only so much you can say for the amount of time, and so I just wanted to add this at the end just to talk to you guys about that and give you a little more information of what I have. But sounds like it's a pretty cool operation. I want to do Union Forge and Manada Iron Furnace as well coming up, and those were both operations that were started by the Grubbs. It was a pretty cool family. So at some point I want to do like I want to do on the Colemans, who basically took that over from them. I want to do a series as well on the Grubbs, because pretty influential group of individuals. So once again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you all about town.